What's up, guys? Thank you for tuning in to the Uncommon Mindset podcast. Today, I'm joined by the one and only Jose Shorty Torres. I'll just give you a brief background on who he is. Jose is a professional mixed martial arts legend with a record of 9 wins, 1 loss, and 1 draw. Jose is a 7 times MMA champion, a UFC vet, a brave contender, and an absolute beast when it comes to fighting. The crazy thing is, this is only the beginning for him, and he is in the prime of his life at the moment. What an honor it is to have you on the podcast today.
I appreciate it, man. It's a pleasure to be on. Thank you.
Thank you. I just want to take it all the way back, Jose. Can you just talk to me about like your upbringing and what that was like?
Yeah, man. My upbringing was, for me, the very stereotypical norm for a Latino upbringing in the city of Chicago. Not the best, male role models in the world. My mother pretty much tried to push me to do everything, and my father, being a gang member and not having, again, his best upbringing. So him teaching us didn't give us the best supplies to survive, but he made us very, very street smart and very, very tough. So because of both my parents, I was kind of, whether I wanted to or not, kind of pushed into martial arts. And from there, martial arts gave me a lot of positivity, gave me a lot of friends, gave me a lot of great male role models and just role models in general, and put me in the right packs of people. And from there, eventually when I turned 16, joined Combat Do, where I'm still at today with Master Bob Shermer. And I mean, that's where I met so many people from around the world, competing at Worlds twice, was able to be the first ever 2-time world champ. And because of all the accolades I was able to accomplish as an amateur, I was able to move up very, very fast in my professional career and, claim more, world championships in doing so. But man, my upbringing was a little rough, but again, to me, it was the natural upbringing of everyone in my neighborhood. So there wasn't, there might have been more sob stories to, with neighbors here and there, but pretty much everyone was around the same level. So it was kind of all of us fighting to survive.
Nice, nice. Yeah, no, of course. I believe that upbringings make the person you are today. So it definitely played a role in who you are today. An absolute beast, right?
Well, I mean, it's definitely, I always say, the past is the past, but the past has made you who you are today. Whether it's
Yeah.
positive, negative, this or that, you're the person who you are today, and you're still alive. So obviously, you've been doing something right in your life. Doesn't matter what you've done again in your past. You're here. You made the choices you made, and it's brought you to this point of your life. And it's never too late. And also, not a certain upbringing means you have to be raised or have to do certain things in your life. For me, yeah, fighting was technically negative in my life, but it ended up turning out into a positive, and look where I'm at because of it.
No, of course, yeah. And I know that obviously you fought in the UFC, and I
hmm
believe your record was it 1-1 in the UFC?
Yeah, 1-1 in the UFC.
Yeah. What was it like? Because I know that you what did they do? Did they like drop you from the UFC? How did that all work
Yeah,
out?
so sadly, a lot of us, most of us, had 4 fight contracts, and I got signed to a dying weight class. So it didn't matter what accolades I had, which at the time was the most prestigious of anyone entering the UFC, at least with the record that I had. And sadly, again, I was signed to a dying weight class, so it didn't matter. So I got belittled and paid very, very little. Going in, I received 2 last-minute fights and a 9-day notice and a 20-day notice in a pretty much like 45-day, 2-month span. And then from there, once I lost and there was going to be the inevitable demise of the flyweight division, I got released first as like the scapegoat. I was the one put on the pedestal, used as an example, which really, really sucks. Obviously with all the accolades I had, I thought I'd be treated with a little more respect. But then Brave came swooping in, going, "Hey, man, you deserve a lot more," and that's where I'm at today because of them. And it sucks because the UFC flyweight division is starting to be rekindled, and a lot of guys are being re-signed, which is amazing. I'm happy for all the guys because we deserve that respect, and we put our lives on the line just for people's entertainment. But it does suck how I was used as a scapegoat. But I have other goals right now, and for me, it's Brave CF being the flyweight champ, winning this tournament, and hopefully, being able to bump up and claim the 35-pound, or excuse me, the bantamweight championship as well.
Amazing, yeah. My one of my coaches actually fights for Brave, Aiden James.
Okay, yeah, I love that guy, man. Him and I fought on the same card last time.
Yeah, yeah, he's such a nice guy, and he talks a lot about Brave and how amazing of a organization it is. Yeah.
I know they take care of him very well, and Aiden's just a phenomenal human being in general, not just fighter. And I know he broke his hand. I'm hoping he's recovering well, and that he's back in the cage soon enough.
Yeah, no, of course, yeah. Do you think that you'd ever go back then to the UFC, or are you just content with where you are at the moment?
I wouldn't say I'm ever really content. I definitely want to venture out of Brave inevitably. I feel as trying to be one of the best in the world, Brave offers that, but I want to be able to go to different promotions that inevitably, kind of like Demetrius Johnson, the best in the weight class. For me, and just probably one of the best fighters in the world. He went from UFC to ONE FC. He might go somewhere after, or he might just retire. I know he's a little later in his age, but for me, it's I want to be able to compete against some of the best. Brave has some of the best right now, but maybe one day the UFC, maybe one day ONE FC, maybe one day Ryzen or whatever promotion comes out of woodworks. For me, it's I'm a journeyman, So Brave, I have my goals. So first, I got to accomplish these goals first, and that's to win the flyweight and inevitably the bantamweight championship. But I was a two-time world champion as amateur. I was a two-division champion and multiple-time defending in Titan FC, and I want to do the same thing in Brave. I want to three-peat. I want to do what Tom Brady's doing, and being able to go to different teams and claim so many world championships, and show that no matter what's going on in your life, no matter what team, no matter what, whatever the case may be, you're still one of the best in the world.
No, of course. And like the good thing about you is that this is just the start for you as well. Like you are literally at your prime at the moment, right? So the only way is
Yes.
up. So it's exciting.
Hopefully. Hopefully.
I know that you help a lot of other fighters and to prepare for their fights. And I know that you were training at American Top Team.
I
Um,
used to, yes.
yeah, what happened with that? Are you comfortable talking about that or?
Yeah, yeah. American Top Team, just like every big gym, there's going to be politics, there's going to be natural bias, and especially when you have so many high level people with only so many great coaches. These smaller guys like myself, whether you're at the bottom or in the middle or slowly on your way up, you're only going to get so much, so much time with these coaches. Again, everyone like Dustin Poirier, Masvidal, Kobe at the time when he was there, all these high Joanna, Amanda, all these high level champions, they're going to get all the attention, which is understandable. The only problem is, for us low level fighters, or lower level fighters, should I say, we need attention as well to get to that point. And sadly, a lot of us weren't receiving that. So for myself, Jalen Robertson, and even Coach Dean Thomas, for him being a coach, he's like, I want to focus on these guys and build these guys up. And we ended up, both Jalen and I left the gym, decided to. I live with Dean Thomas. He's literally two rooms down, and being able to stay with him one on one and train full time with him, and then go to different gyms and be able to venture out and again be journeyman, and kind of had no ego when it comes to, oh, I represent this gym. This isn't like Cobra Kai, where it's like Cobra Kai versus Miyagi Do versus what was it, Eagle Fang, whatever,
Yeah.
So like we all just have our fun, and we cross promote each other. We jump to different gyms, and again, American Top Team, Jackson Wing Training Lab, Dwayne Ludwig, Youth for Sport, all these big gyms that I've been at, and so many more phenomenal gyms, and I have so many great friends and memories from both. It's just I want to be able to do my thing again, just like these promotions. I want to stay in a promotion for so long, then eventually venture out and do my own thing and see where life takes me. So with Dean Thomas right now, he allows me to do that, to go to different gyms, especially when he's going in Abu Dhabi and being biggest famous. And Dana White's looking for a fight in this show, and Dean Diaries and all that stuff. Good for him. I get to venture out and explore, just be a complete mixed martial artist. So it's been a lot of fun, and being able to have a guy who's a journeyman like myself, and obviously way more experience, and has been through the ringer, has been through it all, has coached world champions like Tyron Woodley, has coached people with records like Jalen Robertson, and now coaching myself. I get to learn firsthand, not just inside the cage, but outside the cage experiences as well. And it really is a journey.
No, that's amazing. Yeah. I've seen that. I watch a lot of. I'm such a huge fan of fighting, and I watch like Dana White's Looking for a Fighter and stuff like that. And
Mhm.
Dean Thomas seems like such a legend. Like he's as a fighter and just as a human as well. He just seems like such a nice guy. So it's amazing that you're surrounding yourself with someone like that for sure. Yeah.
It's positivity, man. It's crazy because even at these big gyms, you have so many bodies, but eventually the bodies leave the gym, go back home, do their own thing, and then go back to the gym later on. For me, I was saying at the dorms, again, American Top Team, I have nothing but positive things to say about them, but there's times where I'm just lonely. It's like I'm just training, and then everyone's gone. Now I'm back in my dorm doing nothing. But being here in a household where you have people who legitimately care about you, who want to see you succeed, who give you their full attention when it's your time to get the full attention, it really is a nice positive upbringing. Again, I have two people here at the house with me: David Evans, an up and coming fighter, 1-0, who was an IMUF two-time medalist as well, like Aiden James. We have Jillian Robertson, who's fighting this weekend coming up on Saturday on the Usman Burn card, which I'm super, super excited about. And it's like right now, and I hopefully might fight at the end of March. We'll see. No contract has been set. So for me, it's like we're all focusing on Jillian right now. Then eventually it's going to be both David and I, because hopefully we're fighting around the same time, and everyone gets their own spotlight. But even with Jillian right now having a fight, it's like we're going to focus on her. But once she's done, all right, guys, it's your turn. Come on. So everyone's getting a fair share. And it's a very, very super respectful and positive household, to where you don't just talk about fighting, you get to talk about personal problems, being able to vent to somebody and have people there who completely understand. So it is, again, we're not just a team, we're a family. So it's a very different upbringing, but a very, very positive one at that.
Oh, that's amazing. No, I'm happy that you've definitely found, somewhere that looks after you, that you deserve, for sure. No, that's amazing. Do you do anything else apart from fighting? Do you like do video games or read books or anything like that?
Man, I really want a PS5, that's for sure. But they're like sold out around the world, which is ridiculous. But I do play a little bit Nintendo Switch only when I travel, just because, like, even right now, I just finished training, ate some food, jumped on the Zoom call, and I'm gonna pass out right after this, and then eventually wake up, train again, and then get ready to pack for our trip to Vegas tomorrow for the week. So for me, most of my time is training or promoting or doing interviews, or sponsoring myself, or finding sponsors for myself, or even sponsoring athletes for my foundation or companies that I kind of promote and work for. So man, I'm a natural hustler, so I try my best to pretty much stay as productive as possible. But for sure in the weekends, Friday, Saturday, Sunday, if people look at my stories on Instagram, I'm an open book. I tell people what I'm doing. I go here, I go there. I mean, I stay in Port St. Lucie, which is Central Florida. Florida is a very big state, so I drove 3 hours to Tampa to watch the bare knuckle fights. Then the next morning I drove 2 hours to go to training in Orlando, and then I drove 4 hours all the way to Miami to help commentate for promotion. And the next day drove 2 hours up to do another practice, and then it's an adventure. I mean, I'm Mr. Yes Man, so it's kind of, I wouldn't say I like doing certain things, but sometimes I just don't get the time. But it's being able to enjoy what I do, have fun, stay as positive as possible, and try not to set too many plans, because plans get broken all the time. So for me, it's being as flexible as possible, and just smiling and having fun throughout the process.
No, of course, yeah. It makes it easier when you're doing something you love, of course. And you mentioned that you've done commentating, and I know that when you were on the Ariel Hawani show a while back,
Mm-hmm.
you mentioned that you were doing commentating in the IMAF. Is that something that you think that you're gonna like venture into eventually, or?
I hope so. I know I'm good at it. I'm a natural speaker. I have a lot of fun. I mean, even commentating this weekend was just a blast naturally, because I don't know any of these fighters, especially in the IMF. They're commentating 25 fights to 30 fights a day, and
Oh,
that's five days. So I'm commentating 100 plus matches. I don't know any of these fighters. I can't study. So luckily, at least my part being the I'm trying to think what job is it. The guy who pretty much talks about what's in the cage. I think it's the color commentator. I'm the one, or play by play, whatever the case may be. Either way, I've done both jobs, and just having fun talking about what I see is easy for me to do. I want to do this full time inevitably, kind of like Paul Felder, Dominic Cruz, DC. Once their career is kind of slowly dwindling to be over, but also being able to make a little more money. I wanted to do in the UFC. Sadly, again, signed to a dying weight class. I didn't get the fair share, but Brave is definitely doing that for me. The only problem is COVID. COVID has travel restrictions against Americans almost everywhere around the world. So, for example, I was supposed to fight in Russia and wasn't able to fight in Russia in December, then January. So, it's just one of those things that almost every country can travel, but Americans in general right now, it's weird to say as an American that it's bad to be an American right now. Again,
yeah.
we're usually like the positive guys, and people, again, quote unquote, people want to say that, which whatever. It's just it's such a weird time that we can't go anywhere in the world, and we're very, very limited into our own bubble. But commentary, man, it's just a fun thing to do. Ring announcing, all that stuff. It's just a lot of it brings me a lot of joy, and I also get to enjoy fights without getting punched in the face. So that's definitely a plus.
No, of course, yeah, that's amazing. Have you ever like doubted yourself and thought to yourself like, why am I doing this? Because I know there was a stage where you cut like 45 pounds or something crazy
Hmm.
like that, right, in like 2 months. Have you ever thought about that? Like, oh, why am I doing this?
Yeah, man, I cut 54 pounds in about 45 days when I fought Jared Brooks and Alex Perez. I cut 26 pounds in 9 days, and then about 28 pounds, give or take, when I fought Alex Perez. And I was in a 34 fight winning streak. So when I fought Alex Perez Monday, when we got there and I fought Saturday, I just didn't even want to fight. I just wanted to go home. Like I didn't care what happened. I was in a 34 fight winning streak. Like that's not supposed to happen to a person who's used to winning or a champion or this or that. And I was already accepting in my head I wanted to go 3-1 in the UFC, and then I fought, and sadly, I ended up getting TKO'd the first time ever in my whole martial arts career in general. And I've had hundreds of fights, not just in MMA, but in wrestling, as amateur, kickboxing, Muay Thai, all that stuff. So, it sucks, and going on your shield in the worst way possible is not the funnest thing in the world because you want to lose at 100%. But man, I mean, even today, I still have negativity. I still have doubt, but it's the fact of being able to try to push through and prevail. The hardest part about training and just life in general is yourself. You are your own worst enemy. There is something called self sabotage. The world's not out to get you, you're out to get you. And when we start to look at a lot of things in our past that we regret, we start to look at hindsight, take the emotion out of it. We're like, that was common sense. Why do we make that choice? Man, that's common sense. Why are we thinking this way? It's crazy how we all react differently to certain things, but it's a mentality and how we kind of push through. When I had my last fight where I ended up receiving the draw, I was going through being released from the UFC, all the belittledness from the fans when I had these two fights, the accidental KO, quote unquote, and then being knocked out by Alex Perez, a future title contender, then being signed to Brave, winning a decision that was kind of lackadaisical type of fight for me at least. My father passing away and then having to back out of a fight. I was facing a lot of, I ended up losing an engagement that, I was engaged before. So it's one of those things that there's things happen in life, man. There's a lot of sadness, and being able to change my atmosphere, change the people I hang around with and still hang around with now, and then living in this house, working with Dean, there's been so much more of a positive light that I can finally say by the time I fought Sean Tentella in my last fight, even though I got the draw after the fight, it was like a whole weight lifted off my shoulders. I'm like, wow, I'm finally happy again. I'm finally actually enjoying the fight. I didn't get to enjoy the fight until the third round, and that's where I ended up, dominating into a 10 round, making it a draw. But it was a fact of like, wow, why can't I do this earlier? So it's now opening my mind, being happy, being free. Yeah, there's still going to be struggles every day. Yeah, today might suck. I'm exhausted right now, but it doesn't mean later tonight I'm not going to feel energized. It doesn't mean later tomorrow it's not going to be a better day. It's everything is a journey, and there's so much self sabotage. I doubt myself here and there every single time, but the hardest part is getting up. The easiest part is trying. You just actually have to believe in yourself and try. If it doesn't work, hey, it doesn't work. But I'd rather go all in or nothing. And for me, I'm all in because anytime I've gone 50% or less, I've lost. And that shows the Alex Press fight. That showed that one fight I lost as amateur. That showed in a lot of things that I've done in my life in general, whether it's work, my relationships, my this or that. So for me, I do 100% believe in myself, but there's always those days, man, where I'm just like,
Yeah.
why am I doing this? But it is what it is, and I'm happy to say that I'm still pushing through again and in the prime of my career. So I'm very happy to see what comes next.
No, of course. I love your perspective and like your mindset. That is what differentiates some people to others. And I do believe that you do have that championship mindset, and hopefully one day, we do see you as a champion in Brave. I do really believe that, you mentioned that obviously you got TKO'd, and Aiden, my coach, he got KO'd as well in like
Hmm.
under 1 minute, and that was his
Yeah,
first
against
loss.
Cameron Else. Yeah.
Yeah. Do you think that that's the? Would you rather like go out that way, or would you rather fight someone like 5 rounds and lose? What do you
Um,
think?
I rather. I mean, a loss is a loss, which either way still sucks.
Yeah.
I'd rather go a 5 round war, kind of like you know, you know, um, Calvin Gastelum versus Adesanya. You know, like I'd rather lose a fight like that because I gave it my all. I just might have not been able to push through at the very end, but I went out on my shield. Compared to my loss with Alex Perez, you know, I don't know how Aiden felt going into his fight against Cameron Else, but when I got TKO'd, I mean, everything was in slow motion to me. Even going inside the cage, I was like, I just don't want to be here. You know,
Yeah.
so mentally, I'm not trying my best. Like I'm just not there. I'm physically there, and I remember hitting him once, and after the fight, he's like, "Dude, why don't you push forward? I know you rocked me. Why don't you go forward?" I'm just like, I really have no answer. For some reason, everything was slow motion, and I'm a brawler. You know, I
Mm.
love close contact type of fights. I'm also short, so it helps. But there's so many times in that fight where everything seemed like it was just standing still. It's like, all right, come on, counter, let's go. Nope, come on, do it, and it just wouldn't. Nothing would activate. And it's one of those things that after the fight, it's like, man, I'm so dumb. Why didn't I do this? Why didn't I do that? And I think about it still today. Like I'll get anxiety laying down. And I'm like super tense. I'm grinding my teeth. I'm ready to go. And it's just like, it's kind of like having those imaginary arguments in the shower where you kind of win the arguments. Like, why didn't I do this then? And it is what it is, but it's those own experiences that push you through. Is it always going to suck? Yes. Is my father's pain of him dying always going to suck? Yes. And that's always going to be there. Time doesn't, change things. Time just changes your perspective on things, but it's you having to change that perspective. So for me, it's changing perspectives on so many things. Again, bad things are going to happen. I miss and love my father very much. I wish I can get that rematch against Alex Perez. I wish I can get that rematch against my very first amateur fight, in 2018, or excuse me, when I was 18 in 2010. It's one of those things that, hell, I wish I would have done so many things when I was in third grade, but it's one of those things that it's the perspective and trying to be able to push through. I rather go out on my shield in the 5-round fight. Again, I gave it my all, and it is what it is. But both for Aiden and myself, sadly, regardless if we're both 100% there or not, that stuff happens. You look at Frankie Edgar versus Corey Sandhagen this week, and I've trained with both, and I love them both. I thought Frankie was going to be able to solidify it with the wrestling, kind of like Aljamain Sterling was able to do with Corey, but Corey was able to adapt very, very well, see the read and win for the knee. He's super random with his punches. It's all planned by him, but like you just can't read him. And again, training with him personally, he's a very hard striker to go against because he's just so smart and he's so lackadaisical and smooth. You can't read him. But for Frankie, even putting out the quote, he's like, man, I went out on my shield. It is what it is. Thank you for all the support. And it's sadly part of life. It's like going to walk home. Eventually it's going to rain. Eventually your feet are going to hurt. Eventually things are going to happen, but it doesn't mean you stop walking. Eventually you're going to get home and your journey's going to end. You just pick your next adventure from there, or you just stay home, or like if you retire. But again, it's sadly in this sport, if you look at soccer or football around the world or American football, you don't stop supporting a team because they lost. It just so happens that in our losses, you either lose by decision, you get tapped out, or you get knocked out. And they're a little more brutal than losing by a point or losing by this. But it's the fact of a loss is a loss. So it doesn't matter if you lost in the 5th round, you lost in the 1st round by a knockout, decision, whatever the case may be. You can get up and still fight another day. And you look at some of the best fighters in the world. DJ, best flyweight champion in history. Look at Anderson Silva, one of the most dominant champions in history. GSP, another dominant champion. Everyone has lost. There's only been 2 fighters that we know have been champions that still have not lost yet, and that's what Khabib and Floyd Mayweather in boxing. So again, it's part of the process. Is it great to go undefeated? Yes, but these losses make you that much better. And for me personally, if I didn't lose my very first amateur fight, I wanted to have gone 25 straight wins as amateur, as a pro, or as amateur, and then go 8 straight more wins as a professional, making it 34 fights. It's a process, man. So it's a journey, and there's going to be good and bad in this journey, just like life.
Incredible, honestly. Just listening to you is just it's amazing. I do love the mindset that you have, and I always want to surround myself with people like that. So that's why I love like hanging out with Aidan and Ash Williams, my jiu-jitsu coach. Like you all have the same similar mindsets, and it's incredible. Just before I let you go, Jose, I know obviously you need to rest and stuff. I'll give you one last question now. I know that you've trained with a lot of high level people and a lot of, the best of the best fighters. Who's one person that stood out to you when you were like sparring them or getting them ready for a fight?
Yeah, man, I've helped so many people. I've helped so many people, and every person has had their own little niche. You know, Barboza obviously having some phenomenal leg kicks and just body kicks in general.
Mm.
His clinch game was amazing. John Dotson, his left hand was just super, super powerful. Frankie Edgar and his movement, Eddie Alvarez and his pressure. You know, Cub Swanson and his wild random punches where you just never know where the hell it's coming from. I mean, the list goes on and on. And Diego Sanchez just being the animal he is. I mean, there's so many people, and I'm missing out. I'm missing a lot of phenomenal athletes. But I
Mm.
think the most notable that I trained with full time that was really helped improve my game, regardless of what the social media and people think about him, or even what I personally think about him. He helped me out a lot, and that's TJ Dillashaw. You know, because of him, I'm able to switch stances and compete as a southpaw. I'm able to strike and move forward because of Dwayne Ludwig's teaching and even Trevor Whitman's teaching because they're very similar on the switch stance. Being able to adapt, going back and forth. I mean, TJ is one of those guys that you just can't read.
Mm.
And given I was able to adapt very well with him after going with him for so long, but I think if I entered fresh in the cage with him, he's just at a whole nother level where it's not that he has skills like no one else. One thing he does have over everyone is that he transitions like seamlessly.
Mm.
You know, for him, if you look at his fight with John Lineker, he was able to throw strikes and then easily transition to takedowns, and you just don't see it coming. All of this stuff flows to his dominant wrestling, which was he was an All American in college. I mean, he's a very very high level wrestler,
Mm.
and if you give him that chance to attack, you look at the Henan Brow fight, being able to mix his punches, his strikes, going from high to low, from leg kicks to body to head kicks, being able to transition to wrestling and mix it up and solidify rounds. I mean, and just him naturally as a person, he is a very egotistical guy. So when you spar with him, you're not sparring an average person. You're sparring a guy who's trying to knock you out, you know,
Yeah.
who's trying to finish you, even if it is practice, because he is a sore loser. But I've trained with high level people and I thought it was just him. Joanna's a sore loser. Khabib's a sore loser. These high level champions are sore losers. And that's why they're such dominant winners because they just never like feeling that pain. They hate it to death. You
Yeah.
know, like I think they'd rather have a family member pass away before they lose a fight. Like that's how much they hate losing, you know. So given I'm not that, I guess, egotistical or prideful with that, but it's made them the champions they are because of it. You
Yeah.
know, so it's being able to kind of adapt that style and learn that um man, I've been able to hold my own with some phenomenal athletes in the world. And being able to learn their little science, their little mechanics. I spar with Joanna, I spar with Khabib, I spar with TJ, I spar with other world champions, and all of them have their own little niche. But for them, it's the ego, and it's them just hating to lose. And given I wish they would handle it a little better, but you know, they just hate losing, even if it isn't practice, even if it isn't sparring, even if it's supposed to be touch sparring. But TJ, I think solely, you know, I trained with him probably for 2 years straight. He helped me out extremely, and because of him, I do have much better stand up and much better movement in general.
That's amazing. No, thank you so much for your time, Jose. Honestly, I really appreciate it. And what I'll do, guys, I'll leave Jose's social media down below. Go and check him out. The future for him is definitely a bright one. And yeah, honestly, you've provided so much value. I do hope that a lot of people listen to this and they gain all that value from you. So thank you so much. Thanks for your time.
I hope so too, man. And cheers. Thank you so much. And I can't wait to do it again.